I'm Richard Lewis reporting for HMTV, and I'm here at Earl's Court, London, where I'm going to be going in to the Eurogamer Games Expo, one of the biggest in the UK, and I'm going to battle through all of these crowds here to give you VIP access. So here we are inside Eurogamer, where as you can see behind me there's a throng of all the latest gaming releases that are being promoted and pimped out to the hungry masses. Of course, gaming is as big as it ever has been. It's a growth industry, even during the global recession. What I'm going to do now is take you around and show you exactly why there's so much fuss about it. Now, big titles come with big advertisements. You can see that we've got Assassin's Creed 3 just here over my shoulder. The new Formula 1 game, 2012, is out there, and I know that a lot of people have been interested to get that one. But it's not just about the latest game releases. You'll also see several types of peripheral. It's now about the kind of subculture that comes with gaming, the tools to enhance the gaming experience, and indeed one of the fixations on all the next gen is making it more immersive through peripherals such as these, which you can see here, which is the play seat. And again, while people have been trying to make the driving experience, for example, in driving simulation titles, more like the real thing with wheels, it's now actually affordable to have a seat that makes it a very immersive experience at home. But it's not just that, of course. You know, there's lots of controllers, headsets, sound systems. People are trying to make gaming a lot like home entertainment. You know, when you think about 3D television, you think about surround sound to draw you into the movie. Gaming in itself is naturally more immersive, and there's been a lot of money thrown at devices that effectively bring the gaming experience to life. One of the titles I'm excited about, to move away from that topic for a moment, is this, because I'm an old man, as you can see, and here we've got XCOM, Enemy Unknown, which is of course the relaunch, the reimagining of the classic title, which was made by Julian Gollop. You'll be able to watch our Heroes of Gaming video about him, which is of course on the YouTube channel. But this is a reimagining, but it's by Firaxis, which is Sid Meier's development team, and they're trying to stay true to the original. Now, it's had a huge graphical overhaul. It's going to be available on console, and for some people think that it's going to be dumbed down, but I have played the demo, and it is actually looking very, very good indeed, and very impressive, and no doubt we're going to bring you more on this, but I don't want to dwell on just one game, because there is lots to get through, as you'll see as we continue to move from one end of the venue to the other. Now, over here at the Samsung stand is something of particular interest to the people who follow our website, cadred.org, because on that website we actually broke a very big story, which was about the World Cyber Games. And if you're not familiar with the World Cyber Games, think of it kind of as the Olympics of gaming. And what they decided they were going to do was they were going to discard PC titles, which of course they were famed for, classic games like, you know, Counter-Strike, Warcraft 3, that kind of thing. And they were going to focus on mobile games only, games on your mobile phone, Angry Birds, that kind of thing. Cue much shock. People said we got the story wrong, it couldn't possibly be true. We produced an authentic document, and people said we had been the victim of an April Fool's, despite the fact that I think we broke the story about 2 months after April Fool's had occurred. What actually did happen was they had made that decision, and then based on people's reactions to that, they then decided to change it. Now, why is this here at the Samsung stand? For years it was thought that Samsung were a sponsor of WCG, but that's technically not actually true. The WCG, if you like, is the esports branch of Samsung, and again, we got confirmation of that when we broke that story. So to see it here at a gaming expo, and behind us we've had several videos of the new StarCraft as well as other things. You can see this is kind of like what WCG has become in a way, and it has fallen a little bit from grace, but for it to be here and up front and present in what I would consider a mainstream gaming environment is very important indeed, if there's any chance of it ever coming back. Gaming, of course, is synonymous with controversy. For as long as there's been games, there's been people complaining about those games, corrupting the youth and eroding our moral fibre. And you can see here that with the new game ratings coming in, the new PEGI ratings, there's actually a walled off over 18 area where the kind of more violent and gory games are located inside. But don't worry about that, we can't check your age online. If you are under 18, please don't watch the next section, because we're going to take you inside and show you some of the titles that are contained within. Set to be one of the biggest releases of the year is the new Hitman title Absolution, which sees the return of everyone's favourite slaphead assassin. After a disastrous movie, it's now back in its preferred form, which of course is on PC and console, and it's going to give everyone the opportunity to kill people all across the globe and with an enhanced storyline. The game's going to feature more open-ended levels, more open-ended solutions on how to actually acquire your target, and it's going to require lots of thought about what weapons to use, how to use the environment around you, and ultimately how to be the best assassin that you can be. Taking a leaf out of the Metal Gear Solid franchise, the game is now very much more about stealth, and indeed you can see from the gameplay footage that we've got here, there actually isn't a lot of fighting. There's more sneaking around until you get the ideal opportunity. All your actions have consequences, and in that sense, it's going to be the deepest addition to the franchise to date. Keeping in line with the theme that we saw earlier in Hitman, Assassin's Creed 3 is the latest in the series, and murder for money is a recurring theme in all the game releases, as everyone's favourite acrobatic assassin makes a return to the Xbox. As in previous titles, you can see that there's more audacious ways to kill the people that you're supposed to in the storyline, and of course it does indeed flesh out the Assassin's Creed universe with a storyline that would be more befitting a Hollywood script. 2012 is the year of the sequel, but there are a few games here that have a franchise history as rich as that as Resident Evil, now into its 6th full title, but of course that's not counting the numerous spin-offs that they've had. The original forefather of the survival horror genre has been around for a long time indeed, and I can remember playing the amazing Resident Evil 2 back in the day. Since then, the franchise has moved all around the world, even to Africa in some of its darker and more stranger moments, but Resident Evil 6 is meant to be a return to form. The game's going to bring back all the boss fights that we've seen in previous ones, that indeed the franchise is famous for, but it's also going to bring back some of the original characters, and you can see that the gameplay is so simple, even our dead friend over here can manage it. All this talk about nostalgia, there's one thing that I hold dear more than anything else probably, and that was the memory of watching the original Alien and Aliens films back when I was young. Too young to watch them legally, of course, but I think that applies to most people who saw them in the 80s and early 90s. And indeed, the games, I've always wanted them to be good, but they've never managed it. Somehow they have this, rich universe, this great concept, and they've always been pants. And that was underlined, I think, with the Alien vs Predator kind of re-release not that long ago. It was all right, it was entertaining, but it wasn't brilliant, and it didn't live up to that promise that is there inherent within the Aliens universe. Now you can see we've got the new one, Colonial Marines. That's going to be coming out very soon. It's got a massive presence here, so much so it's actually a closely guarded secret. We're not allowed to film the game footage, but you can see they have brought their very own Xenomorph over there, who's being a bit more cuddly than what I remember them, and of course we've got a Colonial Marine being also a bit more cuddly than I remember them, and you can see, and he's got a nice little bionic eye as well, which looks to be like a converted Samsung Galaxy or something, but no, see, well, Colonial Marine tech, I won't rag on him too much, but anyway, I've had a look at the game. Obviously we can't show it to you at the moment, but there are official trailers and stuff out there if you want to go find them on YouTube. It looks good. It does look a massive improvement on what's gone before, and it looks like finally we might be getting a title that is going to live up to that promise that so far we've been bitterly disappointed about. And while we're talking about blasts from the past, what about this one here? It's Lara Croft from Tomb Raider, except she seems to have had a bit of a breast reduction from what I remember. She's not a voluptuous double D babe anymore. You can see they've made her a bit more gritty and down to earth. But the new Tomb Raider is out. The franchise is still alive and kicking, as you can see for yourself. If you've played any of the Tomb Raider games up until this point, you'll be very familiar with what you find yourself doing. It's running around, climbing things, a bit of swimming, in a jungle setting, and indeed uncovering long-lost archaeological finds. The game, however, does seem to be a little bit more like Turok the Dinosaur Hunter, if you can remember that, in that it's now got a very much improved combat system, including a bow and arrow, and several other weapons. although it's going to take a lot to snap the average gamer out of his lethargy, you can see for yourself that the new Tomb Raider is trying to bring everything that it can to the table in order to capture not just the original audience that love the game so much, but also newer gamers as well. As with any game of this nature, storyline is key, and you can see that Lara Croft has gone from being kind of a pin-up, a bit of a bimbo, a page 3 girl of the gaming industry, to being a bit more nitty-gritty. And indeed, some of the scenes that we've seen here in the storyline, they actually resemble something from Deliverance. But hopefully now the game is finally going to live up to its promise as being the female Indiana Jones. Now, when we've been talking about big games and highly anticipated games, sure, they kind of all are, but there's some that are more highly anticipated than others. And the latest Call of Duty game, Black Ops 2, is certainly that. The last Black Ops sold 23 million copies to date. And as you can see behind me, they're keeping it under wraps. It's totally under lock and key. You can see some people are watching footage of it over there, actually peering through the cracks in just to see. And this massive queue that goes into a special section of the over 18 area is so you can actually get hands-on with the game. And people have been queuing up here all day just to have that first access to the brand new title. For those that haven't heard anything about it, it's a little bit controversial because it's set in the future. It's in the 2020s. It's a fictitious war, obviously, because you know you can't see into the future. And it's gone from being a kind of realistic interpretation of modern warfare into being something a little bit different. Still got horses in it though, if you've seen the trailers, which that's caused some consternation among people. But regardless, copies are going to fly off the shelves like absolute hotcakes. And as you can see, people's anticipation for the game hasn't been dampened by the fact that it is yet another sequel from Treyarch. Now, we've talked about how big the gaming industry is, but one of the things people forget is how old it actually is. People think gaming is a modern phenomenon, which of course it isn't by any means. It's been around for so long, and certainly in the form that we can all appreciate, for decades now. And one of the people who celebrate that are Replay. For those who don't know, they're a retro gaming enthusiastic company. They host events, tournaments, including a very big one in Blackpool that some people have got along with. And when they come to events and expos like this, what they like to do is they like to show all of the old classics, kind of how they were experienced in the home. And you can see we start with the 80s here. Got a copy of the original Donkey Kong, and if you look at some of the computers that they actually had back in the day, I mean, I'm a bit loath to call them computers in some cases, but you know, I think we've got a BBC Micro over there. This was my first one. My first home computer was the Spectrum 48K with the rubber keys. Absolutely ecstatic when I got this, and all the games that we could play on it at the time, which you had a separate tape deck. You had to actually use a separate cassette to load your games, and they were done in roughly 3 to 4 minutes, and it was a great wait. As we evolved, you ended up with this, which is a +2, which had the built-in tape deck, which you can imagine was just absolutely, again, mind-blowing at the time. In fact, when it moved to the +3, I remember saying those floppy disks will never take off, cassette for life. So it shows how much I've got my finger on the pulse. Anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on the 80s. But you can see there's some you'll recognise, some you won't. And if you come right along here, I'll take you right around, because they don't mess around at Replay. They have got quite a selection here. We can see an Amiga over there. I definitely recognise one of those. And the further along that you come, we start getting into the 90s. I believe we had an N64 around here. I think we've got, if I bring you right round, these gaudy sofas. I think I saw some people enjoying another classic, bit of GoldenEye. Now this, wow, I mean, I tell you, it's no wonder people still queue up to play this, because this was the best multiplayer game on the Nintendo. I mean, just absolutely mind-blowing. And I know that everyone had those arguments about banning Oddjob, right? Because his skin was a cheat, he was too small. So anyway, there's more to it than obviously just lining them up and letting people up, but people from all over come here to relive past glories. But equally, they've got the classic arcades. This, for a lot of people, was their first experience of kind of competitive gaming and whatnot. There was all these like kind of classic arcades. I think we've got one of the original Street Fighter 2s over there. But people still play this. I mean, I'm loosely involved in the fighting game scene, the fighting game competitive scene. People like Electronic Dojo in the UK. And people still play these, people still compete in these. These games have not been forgotten. So next time you're at an expo and you want to check out a bit of nostalgia, a bit of memorabilia, get yourself straight over to the replay stand. Now behind me is one of the biggest console titles of all time. It is of course Halo, and Halo 4 has been announced. Now Halo Reach was kind of not really a worthy successor to Halo 3. It wasn't that great a game. Still, for all of the people who follow the competitive console scene, you will know that it was picked up by major tournaments. We've had an announcement from MLG that have said Halo 4 is going to replace Halo Reach within their tournament play, so a lot of people are very excited about the game, but you'll be able to see for yourself whether or not the gameplays are looking to be any good. All the core mechanics that made Halo a multiplayer classic are still here, and you can see immediately the game is straight away recognisable as being from the Halo series. The level design looks a lot crisper, the graphics are certainly fitting of next-gen consoles, and the game itself is going to incorporate new weapons as well as some familiar classics. The good thing about Halo games is though it's got such a hardcore fan base, a hardcore community, that it's going to sell like hotcakes regardless. And you always know what you're going to get with Halo. They're never going to deviate too far from that formula. As such, I fully expect Halo 4 to be one of the big sellers of the year, but also an instant classic. I fully expect it to get good reviews when it comes out in the new year. We talked a little bit earlier about peripherals and how they're becoming big business, and indeed not just big business but almost kind of fashion accessories in the way. But they're a very profitable business right now, and you can see behind us we've got Turtle Beach, which make particularly good headsets, and you can see that we've got a few lined up here, but also they've got a much bigger range inside on their stand. Now these headsets are obviously great for people that want that immersive experience we were talking about, but they've also got a lot of interest from competitive gamers, because competition within competitive gamers, obviously anything that gives you an edge is a very good thing, and you know, with the enhanced surround sound and things like that in headsets now, that's incredibly good. Now one of the people that have been pioneering in gaming peripherals, not just in how they handle but in how they look, you may have noticed while we've been filming that some people have been using kind of luminous green headsets and glowing mice. Well, these are made by a company called Razer, and we know them very well because obviously we've done lots of work together in the past. But for those that don't know, Razer basically make these incredible sort of gaming specific peripherals on the PC, but recently they branched out into console as well, and as you can see behind us, they're showing off some of their new fight sticks. Now I'm not an expert in consoles by any means, so we brought in my colleague from Hardware Heaven, James Reed, to conduct an interview with Darren Roberts from Razer about their new fight stick.
Okay, so we're over at the Razer booth and I'm with Darren Roberts. Darren, just tell me what your role is at Razer?
So I'm the sales manager for UK and Ireland at Razer.
Excellent. Okay, so we're here today to have a look at some new products that Razer have got coming out. That new product for today is?
Our new fight stick for the Xbox.
Excellent. Okay, so this is obviously the new fight stick here. Yep. Can you tell us what about this fight stick is different than other fight sticks that are on the market at the moment?
So earlier this year we ran a situation on our website where we asked people to register to take home one of these, which is actually a beta testing unit. So this isn't the final product, this is the beta unit. We sent out 200 of them to pro gamers, to testers, to engineers, basically asking them to mod it and tweak it and do whatever they can with it and send us back the feedback, and ultimately that will be the final product that we bring out in the new year. Will be based around this sort of product here. So what's different about it? Well, the first thing which gets everybody going is the whole product opens up. So the idea is that every single component in here, obviously it's Samoa components, so the buttons and everything else, fully customizable, but you're able to store all of your products in here. It comes with an extra stick that you can replace the original one with. And as I said, all the buttons can be switched out because they're Samoa parts.
Nice. And this cover here, this is customizable as well?
So the idea is we want to be able to allow people to take the top off, because the perspex will come off, and underneath it there'll be a template that we'll give them that they can either put their own design on, they can spray it, they can do whatever they want. A lot of people obviously want to perhaps focus it around a character that they use, or etc., etc. And obviously in the future it helps us out with any potential licensing opportunities and things like that.
Okay, excellent. So, main question is going to be, when can we get our hands on this sort of bit of kit?
Right, so fingers crossed it should be available in Q1 of 2013. We don't have a confirmed price point yet, but if you go to www.razorzone.com/spread2fight, you'll be able to register for updates and information on the product.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, Darren. We'll have to keep our eye out on the market for as soon as these hit the stores.
Now, we've talked a little bit about the growth of mobile gaming, which has been evident here, evident in things like Samsung, WCG picking it up. But this is really, really interesting. Behind us, you'll see the Virgin Media stand. And what they did is they did this thing where it was you had 100 days to come up with a mobile phone game. You would then have to develop it, come up with some kind of prototype, working version of it, pitch it to a Dragon's Den kind of style, forum, and then they would decide whether or not the game was worth investing in. And indeed, after all of that, it's been whittled down to the one behind me, which is called Superfluid, and indeed, it's going to be released very soon. You can see here that these chaps are actually the developers of the game, and I'm sure they've been pestered all day to talk about it. It's just a team of 4 independent people. There's a graphic artist, a coder, all the rest of it, and this is some of the design artwork. As you can see, he's looking very stylish. This takes you through the progress of the game and everything they went through as you kind of come along on the charts. And obviously I can't tell you a great deal about the game, but certainly it seems to have piqued the interest of a lot of people, so much so that they wanted to invest in it and make it that next big thing out there, perhaps the next Angry Birds, which of course was the big breakout sensation on Android. You can have a look over here. There's some actual footage from the game, of the 100-day game project. But it's very interesting because a lot of people are talking about stagnation within the game industry, that people aren't really innovating, people aren't giving people an option, that what we've got is, effectively a stream of Call of Duty clones. And then, the mobile platform has provided such an opportunity for kind of like the good old days of gaming, like what we were talking about earlier on the replay stand, where you had bedroom coders, and these are just regular guys who had an idea, learned a little bit about the coding, and indeed, as you can see there, a lot of it's early concept art, it's sketches, it was just ideas, and they've made it a very, very real, tangible product that you can buy. So again, hugely exciting, and that shows the kind of progression that the games industry is making. I'm sure we're going to see more independent coders in the future. And that about wraps it up for our day here at Eurogamer down here in Earl's Court. Got to be honest, I've been walking around all day. There's so much to see. We've only brought you a fraction of it, and I'm absolutely knackered now. So I just want to get into the bar, all these people behind me, and enjoy a nice pint. But anyway, do stay tuned. We're going to have more stuff like this from further events when we get back on the road. But for now, that's all from Eurogamer.